Yay! There we are. What up? What up? What up? Hello, everyone. Uh, Good evening. Happy Friday. I'm AC. This is Sign of the Times. Thank you for tuning in, joining me on this Friday night, wherever you are. I hope you're safe. I'm in Chicago. It's cold here. I'm rocking my Chicago jersey because the Bulls are playing the Orlando Magic right now. I'm rocking that number 6. Alice Caruso in the house. What up? Uh, like he knows me or something. We're both AC. Um, Anyways, it's Friday. Thanks for tuning in. I hope y'all are doing well, safe, warm. Uh, I hope everyone's good. You know, shout out to everybody for voting. It's important. So, to those of you that did that, thank you very much. To those of you that didn't, it's okay. Just make sure you vote next time around because that one's going to be even bigger. And there will definitely be a lot more at stake. So, but yeah. That's that on that. Uh, I'm stoked to be here on this lovely Friday. I'm happy. My family's good. My friends are good. I hope all of you out there are good. I know one thing right now that's not good out there, unfortunately, are ticket prices. Yo, for shows. It's crazy. I don't know if any of you or most of you or whatever have heard or seen in the news recently, but T Swizzy, as I like to call her, like we're friends or something, like it's my nickname for her. Taylor Swift, she just dropped this new record, announced this new tour, the tickets went on sale or whatever. And, she's like the biggest thing out there and completely destroyed and broke Ticketmaster's website or whatever. It crashed. People couldn't get tickets, this and that and the other. People were getting pushed back the line and all this other stuff. It's crazy. It's unfortunate that it happened. Things like this do happen. On the flip side of that, like, I know that there were people that were able to get tickets. I had a friend of mine back in Michigan hit me up and was like, I got tickets, and like sent me like the map of where the seats were, whatever. And I'm pretty sure they were floor seats or something. And I was like, yo, hey, how much you pay for them 2 tickets? Yo, $666 for 2 Taylor Swift tickets. Yo, I'm not saying that Taylor Swift ain't dope. I respect Taylor Swift. I think she's dope. I dig her. And I would go see Taylor Swift for sure. But at like 300 a pop, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like old school where I'm used to like shows that were like 20, 30 bucks, 50. Or if it was someone crazy hot, you might spend like 75, 80, 100. I don't know. And I'm sure shows are still like that. But man, when tickets are that much, I don't know. And I get it. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. I know there's a lot of production. I know there's a lot of crew and staff, and I get all that. But damn, that is a lot. That's crazy. And then most of you out there probably know about Blink. Blink 182. They just had their recent reunion, come back together. They dropped the single or whatever, announced the tour, this and that and the other. And I mean, they didn't like break Ticketmaster or nothing like that. But I mean, it was the same thing as far as ticket prices. Like I was seeing some crazy ticket prices, not even on the floor, but like upper level seats for like 170 to like $300. I was like, what? Like, man, I just and I know it's not the artist's fault either. Let me just say that. Like, I know it's not the artist's fault. I'll be real with you. Like, I'll put yes, Mike is Music Machine 666 straight up. It's like my favorite numbers. Excuse me. I know it's not the artist's fault. I know the artists aren't going in there like, yo, like, like I can only put the blame on the ticket masters, truthfully, and the fees. I mean, unless there's something else somebody wants to put me onto the game to. I'm not saying I know everything, but I've been around to know a little bit, and that's just crazy. Like it's a lot. And I know a lot of artists too that have like over the years, in the day that have like, kind of like, fought for this kind of thing or stepped in, like I know Pearl Jam way back in the day. I think they had like a thing with Ticketmaster or whatever about like ticket prices. I know Uncle Sage Francis. I know he had the Fuck Clear Channel tour. Clear Channel was like another one of those like Live Nation, Ticketmaster type things where they were just like gouging fees, prices, and just like arm and a leg to go see a show. And I mean, things now, even things now are like different, like with the pandemic, I know prices of things have just, things have just gone up, you know what I mean? And I get it. It's just, I wish there was some way that we could, curb that or control that or regulate that or something, you know what I mean? Just something, even shows on lower levels, are pricey. I will say this because I'm old school and I love music so much that I remember with me back in the day when your favorite artist was coming out on a tour, they were playing a show, you would like go to your local JC Penney or your local Macy's or wherever, and you would like stand in line to get like tickets, like physical tickets. Like I miss those days. Like you had like a whole collection of like all your ticket stubs, like all the shows that you had gone to and been to. And like nowadays you can't really do that because it's like all digital or it's like will call or whatever. But I used to love that, and the fees weren't that much, if at all, because you were, going to buy them, at a spot, they were like relatively low. And for those of you that don't know, some venues, depending on like what city you're in or where you're at, some venues will still sell physical hard tickets at their box office at the venue. And that's like, there's no fees in there. Like you're buying the ticket. If the ticket's $30, you're gonna pay $30. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you'll pay like $1.50 venue fee, but that money goes to the venue. It doesn't go to like some corporation or like some weird taxes or something silly. That like goes to the venue or like the artist. So like, if there's a band playing in your town, go check out the venue because you might be able to roll up there like on an off night, hit the box office, and get a ticket there at cost, And who knows? There might be a show playing when you go get a ticket that you might be able to pop in and see. But that's just another way to get tickets for shows at a low cost. But yeah, I miss those days. Low tickets for shows and festivals and things of that nature. I get it, like everybody's got to make money, but remember, like the fans that are coming to see you work their asses off to come see you. Not everybody can afford $100, $200, $300 tickets for shows. That's all I'm saying. That's all. It's all good. I don't know. Yeah, support local venues. Support local artists. You're right. Thank you for that. Mike is a music machine. Definitely. Show all that love. Show all that support. For sure. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, that's kind of my gripe on the high ticket prices for shows. Stuff crashing. It's anarchy. I don't know. So that's that on that on tickets. We're gonna move on from that. For y'all that haven't tuned into the show, sometimes if you see me doing this, jerking around or whatever, it's because my dog Phoenix is in the house, and he always wants to play when we're streaming. Ain't that right, homie? Yeah, tug of war. He's a tug of war G. Yeah, y'all wouldn't even know. Shaking me around, it's crazy. But enough of that. We're gonna move out of that. Next thing I want to talk about is gonna kind of tie into our guest that we're gonna bring on in a little later. A huge thing that I loved growing up were movie soundtracks. I don't really like see or hear a whole lot about them nowadays. But back when I was coming up, movie soundtracks were the thing. Like it was almost a thing where like if a movie came out, like the soundtrack like had to be like just as dope. And movie soundtracks are so huge to me also because they had so many different artists. At times, these artists might not have been the same genre at all. You could have like a rock record with a country record with a blues record, with like, you know what I mean? Like soundtracks were so awesome, and mostly because, songs, sounds, and movies could like, I guess dictate how a scene goes or whatever. And they, use song sounds, in those moments. But movie soundtracks to me back in the day were amazing. Like some of my favorites, probably like one of my favorites to this day was the Pump Up the Volume soundtrack. And that had a very young Christian Slater in it. That soundtrack, man, that introduced me to Concrete Blonde, Pixies. It had Above the Law on it. So many acts were on that record that it just Sonic Youth. It turned me on to Sonic Youth, and so many other artists, But that movie with that soundtrack was amazing. The Dead President soundtrack had like Isaac Hayes on it, had the Spinners, had Al Green. Pretty much every, like, if you're a fan of Adam Sandler, Adam Sandler. Yeah, Dead Presidents. That movie, insane. And the soundtrack that went with it was just crazy. It was ridiculous. Like I was saying, Adam Sandler, he's huge in music, and pretty much it's almost as if like he made sure because I'm pretty sure he was like the executive producer for every soundtrack that he released. And 50 First Dates is a great movie, and Drew Barrymore, she's in it. But that soundtrack, if you've seen the movie, it takes place like in an island, right? Hawaii type maybe, but it's on an island, the soundtrack pretty much mimics like the scene and the whole vibe of the movie. And not only that, but all the songs are like done in covers. Um, like Jason Mraz does a cover. There's a I think is it Ziggy Marley? One of them, Damian one of the Marleys does a cover of the Cars. Um, who's gonna drive you home? Drive. Um, but like I guess the point that I'm trying to make is like every movie that Adam Sandler does, like it's almost like he makes sure that the soundtracks are like just as tight. The the Big Daddy movie that had I want to say that had a Sheryl Crow track on it. It had an Everlast track on it that was amazing. Garbage. It had a Garbage track on it. When I Grow Up, that song was amazing. Yeah, the Wedding Singer soundtrack. That's a classic soundtrack, like classic. I could go on and on and on and on about Adam Sandler and the soundtracks. I won't. I'll move on from that. You know, there was the Judgment Night soundtrack, which back in the day was super huge because that soundtrack was pretty much putting rap and rock together. Yeah, you had Helmet and House of Pain. You had Faith No More and Booyah Tribe. You know, you had Sonic Youth and Cypress Hill, Teenage Fan Club and De La, like Ice-T and Slayer. Like, and the movie was sick too. You know, it was just ridiculous. Like, there's so many movies. And I can go on. They're used for everything. Bands will use clips from movies for their walkout music. I remember, I think, I want to say I saw TBS do like something like, what is it? The Bottle. Come out and play. Chappelle did it in a sketch. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. I know my band, Mason's Case. We used a clip from Last of the Mohicans as our walkout music for quite some time. Reservoir Dogs. If you, I feel like the second I say Reservoir Dogs, if you guys are thinking about music, maybe not. The song "Stuck in the Middle with You," which is playing when they've got the cop in the chair and they're like torturing him, and that song is playing. And that was by I can't remember the name of the group. Why am I blanking tonight? What's wrong with me? Why? Steelers Wheel. I think that was the name. But that song, like, on that soundtrack, it's just crazy. You know, like, and I could go on and on and on. Who could forget this one? The Bodyguard soundtrack, Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. It was like, that song was like number one for like 111 weeks straight or something. Broke all sorts of records, like huge. Like I think that single might be like the most all-time selling song from a soundtrack. It very well could be. If somebody wants to look it up and let me know, cool. But I don't think I'm wrong when I say that. Another lesser-known fact: that song, "I Will Always Love You," if I'm not mistaken, that was a Dolly Parton song. Dolly did that song first, and I think Whitney covered that for The Bodyguard. Great movie. It's Whitney. But yeah, oh man, I just and I don't, things have changed so much because, you can see movies on Netflix or Hulu or, you know, wherever you're streaming. You know what I mean? And it's like, music also is so digital now that it's just all streaming, so it's like, it's not like seeing physical copies of soundtracks, another thing is I feel like, labels or whoever, like, I could be wrong, but maybe labels aren't pushing soundtracks like they used to. I don't know. I know the games change, things are different, but I do really, really, really miss soundtracks. If there's a soundtrack that you really enjoy, let me know in the comments, or hit us up on the Hope for Us network, whatnot. Drop us a line, DM us or something. Talk to us. Tell us about your soundtracks. But that's what I got. I could go on and on and on and on about soundtracks, but I'm not gonna because we're gonna bring on our guest. Our guest, his name is Justin Stillmaker. I met this young fellow during the pandemic. He and I were we were on a panel together, and I was like, man, this dude is pretty cool. I like what he's about. He's a filmmaker, and he was just interesting, like really intrigued me. I was like, I want to be this dude's friend. I followed him immediately on the Insta, so I could watch what he's doing and, check out his clips and see what he's all about. And, he's even given me advice on some things, which is so nice. We'll get into that in a little bit later, but I want to bring him on. I want to bring Justin on. Justin, are you there?
Hello. Thank you for that intro.
Hey,
everybody.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I want to keep talking about soundtracks. Why? Like, we can't.
We can totally get into that. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to join us. It's amazing to have you on. Excuse me, as I was saying, you're a filmmaker that I met during the pandemic on another panel. Real quick, why don't you tell the people a little bit more about yourself?
So I'm a filmmaker, writer, and director. I live in LA, but I was in Chicago for years, and I am always involved with kind of interesting different projects. I work in advertising a lot, so I direct commercials, and so I'm always trying to look for something interesting. So whatever the job is, if it's making TikToks for brand, I want to be involved with something new and weird. I'm always searching for something, and so I hope that's reflective in my own work, but in general, you'll always find me kind of chasing down something new and being on Twitch and doing a show. I think this is so cool that you guys do this whole network.
Man, that's so awesome. Thank you so much, man. That's so cool. And I gotta ask, you're in LA right now, correct?
I'm in LA, so it's not as late. It's not as much of an imposition, but I'll take the credit.
So, and are you originally from LA?
I am originally. So I was born in Chicago, but from 4 to 16, I lived in the Bay Area, in Oakland and San Jose and stuff. So I have this love of the West Coast, and I think I have a lot of West Coast attributes. And then I moved back and was in Chicago from 16 until a long time. So a couple years ago. So,
oh man, that's crazy. But that's kind of cool. I feel like between LA to Chicago, especially industry standards, you're getting the best of both worlds, because I feel like Chicago and LA both have something so different to offer that can still benefit from all aspects.
Oh, absolutely. And the greatest thing about being in Chicago and being an artist is you can actually do stuff. You can film things, you can create, you'll meet other artists. I've had other people like kind of compare it to grad school. Like you get to try, you get to figure out what you are about and perfect yourself till you go to like one of the coasts, or you stay and just keep building something great in Chicago. But like, if you want those bit, like in the end, like for the stuff I would like to do, you have to be in New York or LA, because that's where they sign the checks there. That's the
I totally get it. Man, that's awesome.
So.
Okay, right on. So and with you doing what you do, if you will, filmmaking and this and that and the other, what made you gravitate towards that career? What was the thing that set it off? You know, because I know with me with music, you know, I can pinpoint that made me be like, that's what I want to do. What was the thing that kind of made you be like, I'm interested in this. I want to do this.
Okay, so I guess it's like there's a multi-pronged answer to it, in that like I realized as I've gotten older, my parents were like very into movies and like had weird kind of taste comparatively to, I think, most parents. Like they were in the deeper cuts, they were looking for weirder stuff, right?
Sure.
And my stepfather worked in film, so he was a model builder on like the original Star Wars trilogy and like
get out of here.
Yeah, so like right as like 1993, his business kind of went out of style, but like, you know, like he loved movies and like the special effects movies and stuff, so I kind of grew up with that around me. But the movie that made me want to make movies, Independence Day. I remember I was like into movies, and I remember seeing Independence Day, and it felt like the biggest movie in the world. Will Smith was like the coolest movie star in the world, and they had all those explosions. And I remember going to buy a magazine with my own money that was like, how do we do this? And like reading it from front to back. And I was like, there were other steps along the way, but that day I bought that magazine, I sealed my fate into this career. That was like the moment.
And if I can remember, that's a good movie to do it, because that movie had a lot going on in it.
Oh yeah, like they're blowing up the White House. They're not like, there's just like, you know, Vivica Fox is running around, like Jeff Goldblum. It's just like a huge movie, and like in the end, like that's the stuff I really like the stuff that like I like idiosyncratic stuff deep down, but like I love the stuff that's for everybody and like has like that really puts you in awe. And I think movies like that's their best quality. It's like when they're like, you're just like your head's up, and like, you know, I went and saw the new Black Panther movie, and it was like a packed crowd in IMAX.
Yeah.
And you're just watching all these people lose themselves for like 3 hours, and like I don't know, other than going to a concert, like that's the only other like experience you can get. And you know, not everyone has $600 for Taylor Swift, so so yeah, that was the moment. Like Independence Day, there's like lots of other movies, and like, you know, I tried like being a musician, like, you know, I was like playing drums in crappy punk bands in the Bay Area. But then I was like, let's make a music video. And that's, you know, like I was always like, we should film something. And so it just slowly, all that interest kind of slid over.
So you saw Independence Day, and that was it. And then from there, was it just like, did you like start taking classes, going to school? Did you just like go
so
off?
I started reading and watching everything I could. I was a latchkey kid who spent a lot of time alone, and my parents there was like a video store that I can rent R-rated movies at when I was like 12, 13. And so I would just be like, I would rent everything, I would watch everything. And then 14 or 15, one of my mom's friends had a video camera he never used. And so he let me start using it. And I used to film like skateboarder friends, like who were like doing tricks and making little videos. But I think the next step to me was I used to film. This is gonna date. Do you remember Backyard Wrestling when that was like a huge thing?
Oh, do I?
So me and my friends, we did a lot of that, and I would edit our videos, but I'd have to put 2 VCRs and like edit tape to tape, because like, you know.
Oh, no way!
You hit play, record, stop, record the cameras, and it's just like. That having the patience to do that was like, I think really the thing that I was like, I must really love this, because this is tedious as hell. So I think like that's the next tier. Like I then went to college to do film at Columbia, Chicago, and one of the first classes they make you take where you get to make something, it was on film, and you had to edit with tape and razor. They wouldn't let you use the more modern equipment. And they have
Get
like
out of here.
it had like 40% drops out at that class because it's you're just like, I wanted to make movies. I didn't want to like sit here with a razor and tape, and like that was like, I loved it. Like I couldn't get enough of it, but like it was, you know, you're taping it and you're like, you feel like you're an old school movie guy. You're using like the moviolas. It was crazy.
So with what you're saying right now,
Yeah.
And things have changed so much. Like what you're saying right now is like very old school. Like, okay,
Right.
you want to do this film, you're going to take the film, cut it, you're going to put it together, right? So kids, listen, this is very old school because this is very similar to music as well. Back in the day, everything wasn't digital. You couldn't run everything through Pro Tools or Logic or Ableton. You had like analog like tape, and you would record, and if somebody messed something up or you had to fix something, you would have to take that tape off the spool and like cut it and tape it back together and hope you got that lick right. You know what I mean? So it's like, ooh,
it's
man.
It really, like, I like, listen, I'm not telling kids shouldn't go back and do these things, but there is something to a patience you learn, because no matter how good the tool is, there is going to be something along the line that you don't have the budget or access to, and you're going to have to do something an older way, and you're just, and like, so like, whatever it is, learning the patience of it, like whether you really love it or not, right? Like, because what you just described, I would have quit immediately. Like, I would have just like, I can't do it. I'm just like, nope, no, thank you. Like, just like those kids in the class are like, I don't want to do it with tape and razor, but I was like, I have to do this, so I'm gonna just fight my way through it.
See, that's ooh.
Yeah, well, you know, like it's because the worst part would be like if you didn't you wanted something to cut really fast, so like it's quicker images, they're smaller frames, so you're doing the tape, and if you don't lay the tape like smooth, you'd hear it go through the projector like it would like it would get caught and stuff. So you had to like really stay on top of it, and so you were like shit, and so then you didn't have like copies of it. So you'd have to go back, rip the tape up, and like make it smoother again, or chop out one frame of it. But touch of patience.
Oh, patience. Oh man, that's
patience as an artist. It's like the thing. It's the thing.
Yeah, that's kids will never know that struggle.
I'm sure there's like someone who's just like 5 years younger than a 22-year-old, like a 27-year-old who's like, they don't even know. They didn't have that like plug-in for Adobe back then, or you had like, it's all cyclical. It's all, there's always a new version of like exactly what of like back in my day. So, like, I always try to remember that. Like, you know, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I just don't want to be those old guys who are always complaining. Like, back in my day, we can't. Like, I love doing that, obviously, as an old guy. But I think it's important to remember the young kids have the same struggle. It's just different to us.
They do.
Not to call you old guy, AC.
No, it's okay, because I will be first to say, and anyone that is close to me knows I'll be the first to say that, be like, these kids.
Yeah.
But it's okay, you know, and that's the beauty of it, because you know, the older you get, you know, the more you adapt, and you know, some of these young kids can learn from us, and we learn from them. You know, it's almost like, you ever seen a perfect example? You ever Gone in 60 Seconds, right? With the Cage and the one
Giovanni.
Jolie. Yeah, Giovanni, he's in it too. So the scene where they're like getting ready to do the heist, and they're like, you know, each generation is kind of showing their tricks, and the one older dude's like, oh, and the younger kid's like, oh no, man, this, and like shows him like the fingerprint thing or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
I was working on a project with like a younger cinematographer, and he was building stuff in AI. Like, he had access to like a DALL-E AI art thing. And it's like he could kind of like make his storyboards in there. And I was like, this is crazy. It's a great tool. Like it felt so futuristic. I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. But like just like the old guys in that scene, I was like, well, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna use it. Like, it's better, right? Like it more than likely is better than how we used to do it. So let me try to figure it out.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said too between the generations. I feel like I said, we can both learn from each other. Because like with so much new stuff coming up, they can show us things that can be like, oh, well, we can do that, and they might see something that we do now or that we used to do back in the day and be like, wait, that's cool. Why doesn't anyone do that anymore? I'm gonna start using this technique. You know what I mean? So, I feel like we can all learn from each other. It's good.
Yeah. And I like, I try to bring that into my work too. I love like the older school and practical effects and like making it real. But I'm also like, oh, we can just fix that in post with like just put a it's like what are we gonna like not use it? Like that would be ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. It's funny how things are changing, and it's just and you just got to accept it, and just roll with
it
and just grow, sign of the times, you grow with it or you get left behind.
Right.
I want to get on soundtracks because you were like, oh, let's keep talking about soundtracks.
It was The Warriors. Was the movie you were thinking of?
The Warriors. That's it. And I thought it was, but I didn't want to get. I didn't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, I get that.
But I thought, do you have a favorite soundtrack to a movie or like a favorite composer?
Oh, those are all. So my favorite like scores is like, again, they go retro, is like the Tangerine Dream 80s run of like Blade, like all those like kind of synthy, like heavy, like that's just like manna from heaven for me. I want to live in those like synth sounds with like the glossy images. It's just what I want. But I came up in the same area you're talking about, where like soundtracks were like, I'm glad you hit on it, was the Judgment Night one. That's like one of the great examples of like, let's just take two different genres of music, put them together and expose you to. A one that I think is really good that I loved is Grosse Pointe Blank, the John Cusack Hitman movie.
That's a good one.
That's where I found about the Pixies and Joe Strummer and like Siouxsie and the Banshees and like loaded with like all these like, even before, it has a better soundtrack than High Fidelity, honestly. Like it's got so many cool deep cuts, and it's like, again, it's just sort of it's a movie I happen to love, but it's like just sort of a rom-com with some violence. And they went that hard on the soundtrack. And like, it's just, like you just don't see that anymore. And like, I have some ideas on why, but like, when you started talking about soundtracks, the first one that popped in my head was I remember buying Sunset Park, the movie, which is like a terrible movie.
That's that basketball movie, right?
Real Perlman.
It had like
but it has like Above the Law, it has Mobb Deep, it has early Aaliyah. Yeah. That was like the first soundtrack I remember buying and being like loving way more than the movie, because I was so psyched to see the movie, and then you're like, oh, this movie's kind of bad. And I like couldn't love basketball more, but I was still like, this movie sucks.
Oh my God, I haven't thought about that movie in so long.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Like, it's for whatever reason, it's one of those movies that just like bounce around in my head. I was just like, remember that existed? And so like I should go back. I mean, I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, and I would bet that's what, 1996 probably. But to me, the thing that I'm jealous of about that like period of is like the ability to make songs become so connected to the movie. Like you were talking about like the Reservoir Dogs, like the Stuck in the Middle of You. You can't, that song is now forever associated with, you can't unhear it. And like, that is such power as a director that it's just like, it's so intoxicating. If you use it right, you're like, that song's over, can't use it. It's like Goodfellas, you can't do Then He Kissed Me, because that is owned by that Wonder Shot. Like, it's just like he owns
that. Man. That. Yep.
But
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
so like that power and connection. I mean, it did happen recently. I was when you were talking about, I was like, it was like the Stranger Things TV show this summer got that Kate Bush song to #1, Running Up That Hill. So
Yep.
like, and I was like, that's pretty cool, right? Like, there's a whole generation who would never have heard of Kate Bush but love Stranger
Yeah.
Things.
Never.
And, you know, you just need a couple thousand of them to be like, "Ooh, I want to find out more." Like, because like I don't. What were you like? I mean, I'm sure you're like me as a kid. It was like, that's what was cool about soundtracks was they were gateways, right? You're like,
Yeah.
who are the Pixies? Oh, they did. Oh, this is touch and go, and like, and especially now with the internet, it's really quick to hear it. You know, like it used to be you'd hear about another band from one band, and then you gotta wait to buy it or hear it. And now I'm just like, oh, Kate Bush, Spotify, boom, I can listen to all her great music, and like, so it still happens periodically, but like I don't know, I miss that period where like it dominated the culture, and just like I mean, it's more about like CDs don't sell the same way, and movies aren't as popular as TV. So like you're just like they don't have the juice the same way, but I just love that like marrying an image to music is such a like a power and a thrill.
I love it. And here, another thing that I just thought about as we're talking about this.
Yeah.
Do you remember when music videos were a thing when they were cool? But the artist that was doing the song or had the music video on the movie would have the person in the movie in the music video.
Oh yeah, that's just even just like a cameo at the head or tail of it, or like
just a quick, cameo real quick.
I don't know. I'm blanking on a good one. I'm remembering. Do you remember "Keep the Heads Ringing" by Dr. Dre for Friday?
Yeah,
and they would like they had a completely different music video, but they kept showing clips from the movie, but it didn't really match the music video in any way. Like they were like, I see an airplane, but then they would be like, they were showing all the goofy scenes from Friday. And I was just like, oh yeah, I remember they would just like kind of just they're like doesn't like movies used to get made because the soundtrack was gonna sell so well. They'd be like, listen, we got this soundtrack and this star will sell, like who remembers Eddie Murphy's Dr. Dolittle, but we all know the Aaliyah song from Dr.
Everybody
Dolittle.
remembers the Aaliyah song. Here's an old one.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, You Could Be Mine.
Yeah.
That was
probably
that was a big one.
Guns N' Roses, my first concert.
Get out of here.
So I lived in California, but I would come back in the summers to stay with like my aunts and uncles because my mom was like, free daycare, go over here. And so my uncle was I was probably 11 or 12, and he was taking my cousins, but he took the car out and was staying out later than he was supposed to. So to punish him, he didn't take him to Guns N' Roses. And it was like, I remember the Smashing Pumpkins opened. Oh. They didn't come on till like midnight, but they at least played it was like in that period where you never knew what Guns N' Roses was just going to not show up or like do it. And they just played for like 2 hours straight. And like, it was just incredible. And like, so it's like, it's good. Like, cause that band was so big and like that, I know exactly the music video you're talking about. It was so big, so huge.
That's amazing.
But
man,
do you think
so cool?
The other thing I was going to say is like, because you asked this question, I was like, I wonder if soundtracks were more popular because so many music video directors were coming to direct movies around that time. And if they were able to kind of bring their like, well, I did all these music videos for Aerosmith, so I'll get them to do the song for Armageddon. Like, I wonder if it's like there's this like the bit like I'm always fascinated by how like the business and the art kind of have to go together.
I think it could be a lot of that. I think there's a lot of factors in that. I think one, the main one was you had MTV.
Yeah,
they were showing the music videos. I think that was the main thing, and I think also back then,
was it cheaper to license music? That's like something that like the producer in me is like, I wonder if it was just cheaper to get more bands on your soundtrack than it is now.
That is another thing too, because I know definitely, there were definitely soundtracks that had like, you know, so many artists that like, oh wait, all these artists are on MCA, so just do
Right.
it. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
you found that a lot more in like, you know, and more hip hop records. You know, like or you know, releases like that. You know, like if there's a movie coming out, like you know, Juice comes out. You know, there's 7 artists that are on, I don't know, Rough House Records. You know, they're all getting the bill. You know, I think there's so many different things. I think also. No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say like I'm like colored by like old, like I remember like Dazed and Confused has like an amazing soundtrack, but it doesn't have the Led Zeppelin song that it's named after, right? And it's like probably because it was fucking expensive to get Led Zeppelin, and
they probably couldn't license it, you know.
Right. Even though it's the name of the movie, because like I remember on School of Rock, there's like on the DVD. There's like an outtake. He got like Jack Black and the whole movie, like the crew, asking Led Zeppelin to let him have "Immigrant Song" because like, and that I think is just like sometimes you can get artists to give money or they're on the same label. There's always these things that play that I don't even think about. And now with like the media landscape just being so vast and in so many different windows that it's like. I mean, now I feel like I think about my movie as GIFs and memes that I want to see created sometimes out of it, like that. Because that's how you get a hit.
I mean that's really how you do it, you know. I don't know, but I just miss music videos. You know, they're the crossover with music stars and movie stars and videos was like. It was hilarious.
It's like it's one of the things I feel like I just missed the window. Like I feel like if I was like 4 years older, I probably would have gotten to direct a lot more music videos. But like I feel like by the time I could have got my fingers in, they just like cut the budget. It's like I know like I just for this like I call in a lot of favors for small shoots often. But like music videos never I know a couple good music video directors who just they just do it for passion. They just love music so much. They like because like there's just no money in it the way there used to be. You know, like for I think it's coming back. I'm sorry, but like you know you remember back in the day like Puff Daddy would have like $2 million music videos and like the Godzilla soundtrack like that. I keep forgetting how many soundtracks and movies are linked together. It's crazy.
Dude, it's crazy. But it's funny because you say that like so if I'm not mistaken like Puffy like Hype Williams directed a lot of Puffy's videos. Those would be like $1 million you know videos. But then you would have like Spike Jonze doing like a Fatboy Slim video on the streets with some people dancing for like a budget of nothing, and it was huge.
And like, and what's funny is to me, like, cause it's just like the different of like Hype is like the best, not like the music video director of all time, but he had his aesthetic and he like where Spike is like a skateboard guy and he came up with like the Jackass crew. And so like, they're all about like how, and they're both methods are great. And so like, I think that's all like, you know, like maybe you can't do the Hype style anymore, but like, you know, the Spike style you can still do, just get out there, like, do something with it, you know, like there's always hungry filmmakers wanting to work with musicians, and like I think collaboration, just like think it through a little.
Yeah, man. I think I feel like filmmakers and like artists, musicians, like their brains kind of work the same way. You know what I mean? As far as like the way like things are thought out, very methodical, you know, like, you know, very like, very detailed, you know, and what.
Yeah. And like, there's a, I think we're both all obsessed with rhythm. Like, you know, like movies have a arc to them. They have a beat and like scene and like you're trying to get to the point where the images is almost a musical. And I feel like music to me is like always like creating all these images in my head when I hear it, that the musician has to be like, you know, like we're you know, telepathically communicating this vibe back and forth. and it's so fun. That's what I miss about music videos is like you get these like they just when they pair, it's just unbelievable. Like they elevate both things.
Yep.
So my hands.
Is there? It just goes.
I'm Italian. It's like I can't help it.
No, it's that's fine. That's fine. I love everyone. Is there? It's almost, I guess, almost like a two-part question. Is there a movie that you wish that you had written, or you know what I mean, like come up with a concept or direct it? You know what I mean, like not like Independence Day, the one that drew you in, but like you saw like because I know there's like musicians, like artists, like will hear a song and be like, damn, I wish I wrote that song, or I wish I wrote that chord. So like do you have like
there's like a billion movies. I guess let me answer it with like, does this happen to like does this work for you? Like what I'll often do when I'm writing something or like making a short or trying to make a feature is there's a movie I'm like creating in audience with, right? Like so like I made a short film that to me was like my Terminator. Like that was the movie. There's these two movies I kept thinking of through the whole time. One's the Terminator, and one's this Italian movie called Red Desert. And they like they're inspiring so many of my decisions because one, I love them and they're influent and like I feel like I'm trying to communicate with those things. And so like there's plenty of movies that I'm like, shit, that's so good. I wish I would have thought of it. Like there's like there was a good little like fun comedy horror movie called Bodies that came out this year. Really enjoyable. And I was just like, I remember watching that, like, that's so simple. Why did I not think of that? Like, that's like, you're just like the way they did the killer. It's all really smart. And so, yeah, all the time. I'm like, I'm jealous all the time. Like, it only ruins it when it's like, I was working on the same exact thing and you beat me to it. That's the only time where I, like, a filmmaker, get like too jealous. Does that happen to you as like when you're creating music, where then someone comes out and you're like, shit?
Yep. Or it's like, oh, I had that idea. Like you'll have an idea, like they, you'll hear somebody do it, and you'll be like, that was so close to what I was gonna do.
Yeah,
damn it. And then it just makes you be like, all right, well, I have to either scrap it, or I have to really change it and make it my own.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
You know.
Do you as this I want to ask you a question. So like sometimes when I'm working on something, I immediately the first thing I do when I'm writing something for a movie, I make a playlist. One, because I just like that's my like stress reliever. I'm obsessed with music and I'm like on Spotify and I'll make like a playlist. But I often sometimes when I'm creating a piece of work, I'm like, I was obsessed with Fleetwood Mac's Tusk and like just like the excess and the like and so every now and then I'm like, this is I'm going to lose myself in this project and this is going to be my Tusk. Do you ever think like this? I'm thinking of like a movie. This is like, it's not really has anything to do with the work you're creating, but you're thinking of Goodfellas or you're thinking of, like something else like a movie that inspired a track. Has that ever worked basically?
Yes. It's not often when that happens.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, it's almost frightening to me because I'll just go. Like,
right.
That's why, like, I'm in some ways I'm kind of glad that I do watch movies alone because, like, when that does hit me, like,
oh, you gotta go.
I need my notebook. Like, I need to start writing, or I pull out my phone and I start typing. There's been even times where, like, I'll be watching a flick and I'll hear something, and like I'll just
it'll like the one it echoes. Like
I'll hear, and I wonder if I can echo that, or I'll hear I'll be watching a movie and a character will say something.
Yeah.
That will spark a lyric.
Right.
Like they'll say something and I'll be like, and I'm off to the races. There are 16 bucks.
Yeah, like it doesn't happen too often, but there's times where I like have gone to the movies, old or new, and saw something so good it just like starts exploding ideas in my head that I've just left the movie. Like I'm just like I am now. I'm like I can't take on. I remember very clearly I was in Chicago. I was at the Music Box and I was watching Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters, a movie I'd probably had seen as a kid, but really hadn't seen as an adult. And since I became a filmmaker, and it's just like it was just I had to leave. Like I eventually went back and watched it on Blue, but I was like I just walked out of the theater about halfway through. I was like I'm having too many ideas and inspirations and things I should be doing, and I got to do. Like it was just like overload, and I was like I got to get out of here. I have to leave because it's just like I got to start writing him down. And like that's like I think that's the coolest thing ever that can happen from a movie, and like you're saying, it kind of can happen to you.
Yeah, so, very quickly. Like yeah. That happens so quick, and this is I want to keep talking, but we got to wrap this up. I got to do another segment, but I want to keep talking. I'd love to have you on as a guest again in the future if you'd be down.
Absolutely.
And actually, if you want to hang out for a couple minutes of this last segment. It ties into to you and film and filmmaking and everything. So what it is every episode I try and give props to a female artist in the industry, whether they're an artist, a musician, an architect, or whatever. Yeah. I always try and give these people their props. They're people that I feel like don't get enough props, or they don't, maybe people don't know who they are and they should know. And so this ties in perfect with this episode with you, because the person that I want to talk about briefly is the one and only Miss Pam Grier. She's to me, she was that. Damn, who is this? Like she looked amazing, but looked like she would hurt you. But she was very beautiful. For people that don't know, she was she started doing like beauty pageants when she was really young. Got into movies in the early 70s. She was in a film called God damn it. She was in Coffee. The Big Dollhouse.
Oh yeah, Johnny Demme.
The women's prison movie or something. That was like her first flick. Coffee, that was huge. Jackie Brown.
I was gonna say Jackie Brown.
Tarantino flick that he put her out in. Foxy Brown, which is probably like one of her most noted ones, which people, there was Foxy Brown, the MC from New York, that took her name from that.
Big crush.
Pam Grier. Yeah, man, she was crushed it. That's her when she was in Jackie Brown. She was in part of these blaxploitation movies that were coming out in the 70s. For those that that don't know what those are pretty much movies that pretty much starred black actors. Very, very low budget movies. Pretty much intended for black audiences. If I'm wrong in that, Justin, correct me.
That's about right. They were like, oh, there's an audience. Let's produce these cheap movies. Let's produce them quick and fast. And there's some really great classics in those. And she, like her, and I think like really her and Jim Brown were like the stars of those that just like really stood out from like that period. But Pam Grier in particular is just like, she even did a zombie one called Sugar. Is it Sugar Hill? I can't quite remember the name of it. That like
I think so, something like that.
She was
She's done a lot, man. She's been in the game for a minute. She's influenced so many actresses in the years. She's paved the way for a lot of people. She, she still continued. Well, I don't know if she still continues to act to this day. I think the last thing she was in was like the L Word, maybe. I think she had done a couple things.
She's also on Twitter a lot. She's a really funny. She tweets a lot. She's very funny.
I've seen some of her tweets. They're pretty good. They're funny. Yeah. Let's not talk about them too much. We don't want her to get banned. She's a. For some of you that don't know, just a couple side notes about her, real quick. She is a cancer survivor, which is crazy. Cancer survivor. They told her that she was only going to have like 12 or something months to live. She beat it, cervical cancer. So shout out to her for that. And she's had some crazy times with men. Richard Pryor, she helped him like read and write or something.
Yeah, like I think. Yeah, like he had MS, right? That's what started.
Yeah.
And then she helped him huge.
Yeah, and then like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Have you heard about this one?
No, I mean, just like there's certain people that you just like. Kareem is an incredible person on every level, and like his writing on everything is so like amazing. But like he's also one of those people like you can't picture anyone with him because he's just such like an alien. He's just so huge. Like I always look at that photo of him and Bruce Lee, and you're just like, we're the same species.
It doesn't make sense. Like
yeah, it doesn't.
Like it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I'll never understand it. I don't know. But yeah, everyone, Jackie Brown. I'm sorry, Jackie Brown. Pam Grier, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry. I'm thinking of the movie. Check out her work. She has done everything for the last 4-5 decades. She's been in the game. I mean, every decade she's been in something. She's been in everything. Check out her work. Cancer survivor. She is a feminist in the true sense of the word and a badass at the same time. And I don't even know. She's everything. I'm gonna shut up. I just got a text from my lawyer that's like, shut up, you're talking too much.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's other things about Pam Grier that I think also resonates with certain people, but like she's incredible. She's
incredible. She's dope. So check out her work. Check out her work. She's awesome. She's dope. And that's it. That's all I got for tonight. I'm gonna end it on that. I want to thank the one and only Justin Stillmaker for joining us. Justin, before we take off, is there you got any projects coming up that you want to share? Any links that people can follow you on?
Yeah, honestly, again, AC, thanks for having me. This was fun, and I will come back anytime you want me to talk about movies or soundtracks or anything. Go to my Instagram. I have a short film called The Writer out right now. It's playing festivals, and like I have it up on Vimeo if you want to take a look at it or send me an email. But if you just follow my Instagram, you'll be able to follow. I have my website, justinstillmaker.com, but like I'm just at Justin Stillmaker on Instagram, and that's the trailer for it there. It's kind of a practical effects. It's AC. You got to check it out. I mean, the score, the composer I work with on it is incredible, and like he elevated it.
Well, how about this? Why don't you set up the trailer for us, and we'll check it out real quick.
Sure. So The Writer is a post-apocalyptic. Oh, hold on. I have the synopsis of the movie right here, right in front of me. 1 second. If you'll allow me. Murder is a business done in an app. The poisonous city is a place of constant fear and violence. Vicious gangs compete for a chance to even breathe fresh air. This is the world of the writer, and he has one mission: escape. It's a kind of a cyberpunk hitman movie. And so yeah, I shot it all around Chicago summer ago.
No way, man. That's awesome. Well, this is dope. Everyone, let's check out the trailer for The Rider by Justin Stillmaker. Let's check it out.
Do you know who this is? If you think really hard, you'll know who this is. If you come looking for me, I won't hesitate.
Is that not a threat?
No. It's a promise. Surprise.
There it is.
What, dude? No way.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
It's 17 minutes. Just reach out to me. I can I can definitely show people it. It's playing festivals. It's playing one in Vegas next month. I'm very excited about. And yeah, it was just like it's a movie that was like, we should come back because like working on the composer for the first time in a long time was a lot of fun, and like he really the music in that movie in particular just like really elevates it. Like we were working with it without the music done, and it was like we could just tell it was missing something. And once we added the music, it got to the level we wanted it at. So it's my baby.
Dude, that is incredible. Shout out to you. That looks amazing. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's sick. Definitely please send us the link to that so we can make sure we get it up on our socials as well to share with people.
Absolutely. Awesome.
That's amazing. Everybody, go check out The Rider. Go follow Justin Stillmaker on Instagram and go check that out because that was amazing. That was dope. Justin, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your evening to hang out with us.
Loved it.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Let's do it
everyone out there, I'm gonna have you back definitely sooner than you probably think. We're gonna get out of here, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, hanging out with myself and Justin. Thank you to everybody that's been hitting us up on the chat. I want to spend a special shout out to Scott for making all of this look beautiful. He's the man. He's amazing. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. Hope for Us Network. Make sure you check out the other show, The Tomorrow Show, Sunday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Everybody, stay safe, stay warm, take care of one another, look out for one another, and just be safe. Be careful. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Peace out, y'all.
Thanks for having me.